For our project, we'll be going over blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is something that has been just recently introduced into the technology world. First, we'll be going over the description and its relationship to business, and then explain the uses of the blockchain, and the weaknesses and strengths of blockchain technology, and how a manager would utilize it and use it in the business world. The history of blockchain technology. Blockchain technology was introduced in 2008 when Satoshi Nakamoto released a paper on Bitcoin. Satoshi Nakamoto is not a person, but a unnamed group. In the paper, Nakamoto stated it's purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash. Basically, an electronic cash version of Cash App or Venmo. But the difference is this is controlled by one entity. It was through Bitcoin when blockchain technology became what it was, because it is blockchain that runs Bitcoin. The history of in the following year, Bitcoin was available to the community openly. Blockchain makes Bitcoin work efficiently with little to no errors, especially since Bitcoin was exposed to an open source community. So basically, they had worries on if they could trust Bitcoin because they didn't know if someone could corrupt it. Like, because in Wikipedia, there's all these ways you can corrupt it and not get the right information. So with Bitcoin, blockchain helps it run efficiently without being corrupted. Basically, blockchain is its trust. It's what helps people to trust it. Blockchain is when you can't. There's not one entity that controls blockchain. There's not one person, not one company, not one thing that controls blockchain. Blockchain is a multi-user user format. So basically, blockchain is to Bitcoin as internet is to email. It's just like backup. What is blockchain technology? Blockchain technology is basically like a digital ledger, especially when it comes to like Bitcoin, since it's electronic cash. So it basically records all the information that comes in. It gives it a signature, creates a block for it, and it keeps all that information recurring and recurring and recurring. It keeps checking the information to verify it. It's a multi-user like Google Docs, not one owner. So like no one can if it does get corrupted, blockchain has all this information to see if this is the right information, that they can accept this information from this person, but it's not controlled by one person, and it transfer information without corruption, so it can get to one person to another person without being corrupted by a middle party, a third party. And it's basically a digital trust. You can trust blockchain because there's not one person controls it, so it's controlled by itself in a sense. So and then it has all this information that it's processing to make sure everything is true, all the information is correct, and nothing gets corrupted along the way. How does blockchain technology work? On the surface, this is how it goes. A person enters information into the blockchain, or an edit of a current block. The blockchain verifies the information, then verifies the signature, basically the person who's entering this information, and then the information is accepted, and then the new block or the block is edited, or a new block is added to the current block that needed to be edited. But that's only if it was accepted. If it's rejected and the information is proved to be invalid, it does the same thing. The information comes in, or the edit comes in, they verify the information, verify the signature of the person, but if blockchain sees that they can't trust this information, or this information isn't proved to be correct, they won't accept it, and the new block or block edited proposal will be rejected, and then have to start all over again. Blockchain, I'm going to go over simply in how it can be used in the business world. And how they currently are trying to use it in the business world. They use it for contracts, payroll, voting, and storage. And the reason for this is because blockchain is like the internet. Its storage is immensible, and it can hold as so much, 300 times more than any other storage system. So that's how they use the storage. And voting, since it goes through, since it's a non-corruptible system, this could be a good way to use voting in the business world for like picking picking who runs the business, or anything that the democracy in businesses. And they can use this for payroll, since it's familiar to using money and trying to figure out how it to be distributed. It can use business people can use it for payroll, and then for contracts and making sure the information gets to the right person without being corrupted. And that's it for me. And now we're going to go on and talk about how we can use blockchain in more depth.
Blockchain technology has already become very prevalent in the business world. It has already taken hold in many different sectors and industries, such as the financial sector, the automobile industry, healthcare, instant messaging companies such as Facebook Messenger, etc., ride sharing, advertising, cloud storage, and music and entertainment rights and intellectual property.
Smart contracts can be used widely in finance. After all, the original protocol for blockchain was designed to send financial value from one entity to another. The first use for this was Bitcoin, but since then, a number of alternate financial uses for smart contracts, including newer digital currencies, have emerged. Smart contracts can be used as part of a banking service to ensure that funds flow between parties seamlessly and directly. They are also the basis of distributed autonomous organizations, or DAOs, which are blockchain-based organizations that can be used as investment pools. An important concept for smart contracts is oracles, and we can explore what that means through examining finance-based smart contracts that are tied to stable currencies. Basically, an oracle is an outside source that partially determines the outcome of a smart contract. If a smart contract is tied to a stable currency, such as the euro, an oracle has to be in place to submit information about the value of the euro. Draglet. Blockchain is our passion.
As I mentioned, IBM has already begun using blockchain to help with financial operations. The high security and ease of verification that blockchain can offer is being used to reduce the time for dispute resolution, as well as allowing IBM to resolve and deliver settlements quickly. They are also developing programs so users can become more familiar with blockchain. Another industry being revolutionized by blockchain is the automobile industry, with various use cases such as supply chain management, title transfer, insurance claims processing, financing, maintenance, and loyalty program transactions and recording. It is easy to see why. French automakers Renault are using blockchain as a shared ledger to log all car repair and maintenance history in one place, allowing for optimal upkeep and maintenance of their vehicles. Porsche is taking a page from Renault's book and are looking into utilizing blockchain tech in the near future for a similar purpose. A company called MetaLedger has developed an application using blockchain to improve the track and trace capabilities for prescription medicine. This system helps to identify and trace certain types of medicine and is bringing competing pharmaceutical manufacturers and wholesalers to the same table. To conclude, it is not a question of if, but when will most companies be using this tech somewhere in their operations.
One of the biggest barriers with blockchain and the wider population is the complexity of the concept itself. It involves an entirely new vocabulary, and traditional people and people that have a hard time adapting to change, they're going to be the ones that have a tough time grasping the concept alone. Not to mention, people are still having a hard time functioning a laptop or their own iPhone. I talked about immutability and how that can create transparency. Well, this isn't always a good thing. Immutability prevents the correction of mistakes, so huge losses can occur if there's an irreversible mistake. There's also a problem with storage. With a decentralized database, every participating party has a copy of the actual database. But with the increasing number of transactions, the size of the database is always expanding infinitely. The transactions are stored forever due to the nature of blockchain itself, so this can cause an issue with storage. There's also an issue with privacy. Blockchain is not as private as it seems, although data on public blockchain is encrypted and seen as anonymous and private. Web trackers and cookies have been used in investigations to track down identities. There's also an issue with security. One security flaw to highlight: if more than half of the computers servicing the network tell a lie, that lie then becomes the truth. This is called the 51% attack, which was emphasized by Satoshi Nakamoto when he launched Bitcoin. Because of this, the blockchain community must always be monitoring for flaws, and they must always be on their feet so they can catch these mistakes. I guess one weakness pertaining to this technology is the fact that it's not mature enough. Like I said, blockchain is still young, and it's improving day to day. Although the fact that this technology is capable of so much at its genesis state, that's extremely promising. We don't know the level of success, though, when it comes to blockchain. Um, we don't know the level of success it can have in disrupting the global financial system. And the question really is it going to be too disruptive for its own good? One of the biggest barriers with blockchain and the The most appealing aspect of blockchain is that it enables a database to be shared directly without a central administrator. These blockchain transactions have their own proof of authorization, so transactions can be verified and processed independently without a third party. Third-party organizations, even trusted third-party organizations like a bank or even the government, spend a lot of money hiring people and designing processes to protect their databases. So being able to replace this process with code would be a lot cheaper. The transparency of this technology also makes it very appealing. Many users and developers have the opportunity to modify things. What is extremely important about blockchain is its difficulty to alter locked data. People can see if logged data has been tampered with, so this adds security and transparency. Blockchain allows peer-to-peer and business-to-business transactions to be completed. Since there is no middleman involvement tied to these transactions, businesses and users can eventually see a reduction in costs. Talking about a middleman, when it comes to traditional banks, it can take days to completely settle transactions due to the fact that the banks are only open normal business hours and that there are protocols in bank transferring software. Also, financial institutions located in various time zones can delay processing times. But blockchain technology is working non-stop 24/7, which can make transactions processed more quickly. Thus, transactions can be made faster without losing accuracy, which is extremely important. Investors and developers are extremely encouraged by the control aspect of blockchain. They're the ones that have a say, and they can call the shots, which is extremely valuable for them. Decentralized blockchain technology is only about 8 or 9 years old. This means that its full potential is not really known at this time. There are people claiming that blockchain will revolutionize business and redefine companies and economies. There is potential for that, but there's still also a lot of hype.
This is how a manager would utilize and use blockchain technology. This is how a manager. Some people might ask, why blockchain? Blockchain cuts out the middleman. It eliminates risk that comes along with storing data across a large network by using encryption technology, which is very secure. Some people might. Blockchain is a decentralized tool. This means it prevents points of vulnerability that hackers can take advantage of. You have centralized and decentralized networks. Blockchain is a decentralized tool. This means it prevents points of vulnerability that hackers can take advantage of. You have centralized and decentralized networks. Here is an example of a few different keys in blockchain technology. We have a public key, which is a user's address on the blockchain, and a private key, which is somewhat like a password that gives its owner access to the digital assets. Noted in blue, users are not anonymous. Noted in red over here, users are anonymous when looking at different distributed ledgers. Here is how blockchain can be used in supply chain management. Some of the benefits of blockchain technology in supply chain management are that it offers benefits of traceability, cost effectiveness, it tracks the movement of goods, including their origin and quality, and it simplifies the process of ownership transfer. Shown on the right figure is blockchain for drug traceability. You have the manufacturer that produces the drug and marks it with a unique code. Moving on, the manufacturer sends the drugs to the wholesaler. The wholesaler verifies the origin of the product. The wholesaler then sends the drug to the pharmacist. The pharmacist verifies the origin of the product. The pharmacist delivers the drug to the patient, who also verifies the origin of the product. Here is some uses of blockchain technology in accounting are that it eliminates human error, it protects sensitive data, it's highly traceable, especially in audit trail, it's more efficient than normal accounting processes today, and it's very easy to maintain your records. Blockchain technology also has contractual use managers can apply. Contracts and agreements can be signed and validated through a blockchain construct online. This cuts on costs and eliminates the need for mediators. Management can then integrate services without having to disclose important and private information to other third parties. Blockchain technology also has contractual In a transactionary stage of business, blockchain has a very applicable use, especially in peer-to-peer global transactions. For example, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency in the market, they are safe and secure transfers. Unlike some other competitors like PayPal, those also require fees per transaction, location restrictions, and minimal transfer amounts that are not always ideal to the users. In a transactionary stage of business, blockchain has a very An example of real-world and innovative use of blockchain technology is this DocuSign being applied in a car leasing and sales. Blockchain is streamlining car leasing by click, sign, and drive processes. An example of real-world and innovative use of
So that's it for blockchain technology. As you can see, there's so many aspects to blockchain. First, we described where blockchain came from, Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008. Then we described how it worked and how a new edit or a new information is allowed into the system or how it's not allowed into the system. And then we learned how it relates to business through contracts, voting, and accounting, and we go over this more in depth at the end of the slideshow, where you see how they can use it in accounting to keep track of any errors. It allows a lot of transparency, as you could see in the strengths and weaknesses of blockchain technology. That it allows a lot of transparency, but it also is always growing, and that a big strength is that it's not controlled by a third party. And lastly, we went over how it went examples of blockchain technology in the real world right now, like with mid-ledger or renewal. So thank you for your time and have a good day.